Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, feedism, and everything plus size. Y'all, today I am a delicious can of Pilsner. James.
And ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee, Tim.
So let's get into it, y'all. Listen, today we have someone very special, and I'm going to remind y'all, we do video-sodes on our Patreon, and I think this is as good a time as any to remind your motherfuckers out there that if you're not subscribed, you should be, because today we are sitting face-to-face with the eponymous, the incredible dkmate. Hello!
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just woke up, so yep.
Well, because it's early for you. You're based in Argentina, right?
Yeah, it's 2 p.m. here, so not too early.
I love that. 2 p.m. I just woke up. It's a little early, but you know, we're
Dude, I get up at like 4 a.m. Like the time people are finally awake is like I've been up for like 8 hours.
I feel you.
Yes, that's right. Tim is the crypt keeper. He truly rises with the dead of the night.
When you're old, you don't need as much sleep. You know, when you're old, you can probably make it on like 5 hours of sleep a night.
Oh my goodness. But listen, we have with us, as I said, we have the incredible dkmate. Now listen, DK, I was very excited for this because as we shared during our intro call, you are one of the artists that personally I very much look forward to seeing what you produce. Every time I see a new piece come across my timeline, I am taking a very close gander at the artwork. I am very much enjoying what you create. And so I really hope that throughout this episode, as we get to explore your artwork, dear listener, if listening to this episode, you really enjoy what DK does, I'd like to encourage you to send him a little message wherever you find him online. Tell him that you really enjoyed this episode and give him some love, because I feel the artists in our community don't get enough love and shine. So I think that's going to be some of our intent with the episode today. Explore your work, give you some love, and to just really dig in with your inspiration. So DK, are you ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Fabulous. Let's do it. So first things first, obviously I've sat here now, waxed poetic on you just a little bit because I do think you're fabulous. But for anyone listening who, for any reason, has not come across your art before, this is their first time being made aware of you and what you do, how would you describe the art that you create?
Personally, I would just consider myself like a homoerotic artist that just draws men in all shapes and forms. I think I drew them in all the shapes and forms. I did draw the twinks, the big muscles, the fat ones. That's like my main thing. And then the hyper muscle, I think I drew like once or twice.
I love the diversity call there. You know, everyone else in the world has to really dig deep to think, have I drawn a fat person before? Oh, I don't know. I love that your diversity marker is, I've drawn twinks once or twice. I've drawn some muscles once or twice. Fabulous, truly. And I want to zero in on that for a sec, because you describe yourself as this homoerotic illustrator. And as we covered before, you are from Argentina, so you are a gorgeous Latin man. I would be curious, how did you come to, how did you get into drawing, first of all, and what drew you to larger bodies as your particular niche of artistry?
Well, since my dad was a professor, he always came home with a lot of useless paper. And since I was like, I don't know, 5 years, I just drew on all those papers. And I think that part of me being an introverted kid and the other part just having a lot of paper and a lot of pencils made it work for me to get a creative talent. And then when I was like 13, I started going through Tumblr. all social medias, and then I discovered porn, and I started to draw in that, and yeah, that's pretty much the path I went through. And then when I was like 18, 19, I got my first digital tablet. I started my Instagram, but I think that the that that Instagram that I started was like a personal Instagram. It's not the Instagram that I have now. I started to go full on social media when I was like 23, 24. I'm 32 now, so a long time ago. I started to study like how to do a good Instagram, how to do a good Twitter. I discarded Tumblr because it was going through the porn ban. I it, it had a name. I don't remember what was called. Yeah, I discovered a lot of artists that now I think they got me inspired to draw to start drawing like I draw now. My biggest inspiration, whether believe it or not, it was Silver Show. I don't know if you know their work. Well, it was a big inspiration for me to start drawing men in general. Like I love how he well how they draw muscles and shapes and how he make composition. So I started to like almost copying his work, and then without realizing, I was almost making my own style, adding what I did like the most, that was bigger bodies. And then the rest is like where I am now. I have my own style. I know what I like and what I don't like, and I started a Patreon. I made it clear that in my Patreon, I would only draw what I like. People don't know, but I had two Patreons. The first one, I created it with the idea of I will draw Bara in general. So I started to draw. I would draw all the kinds of bodies, and even those bodies that I don't really care too much to draw, and it wasn't fun for me. So I deleted the Patreon, and a few years later, I created the Patreon that I have now, that is exclusively for bigger bodies, which is something I do have fun drawing. And I keep the rest of the bodies, the type of bodies, to my social media. So yeah.
Well, and I'm curious to know, like when you first started putting out your artwork out there for, on social media platforms, like did you already have the Patreon established, or did you like how basically how long before people started asking you for commissions?
I started posting on Tumblr, my first not safe for work drawings, and it was cool. It was a bit shocking when someone asked me on a DM, "Hey, how much do you sell this for, or how much is a commission?" And I just stood at that message like, I can make money with this. Oh, okay. So I started to make a list of my prices. It was like $2, $3 if you want full color and all that stuff. And then someone said, "Oh, you can just make a Patreon, and they can just pour the money." And oh, okay. And it was really difficult. It was too much time, too much stuff happening at the same time. So yeah, but basically, I just wait for someone to be interested in buying my art, and then to have like a substantial following, which at the time was like having 100 people follow me on Tumblr, which by at that time 100 people was a lot of people. Now 100 people seems like the basic starting.
So, what got you into the because sometimes some of your artwork features like, actual gaining scenes, where someone is bigger after like a couple of panels, And so what interested you aesthetically about the physical transformation side of it? Like what drew you to that?
Actually, it's funny because most of my sequences are commissions.
Okay.
It's really fun to draw them. It was really fun for me to watch them as a kid. For example, the Johnny Bravo weight gain episode, when I watch it at like 5 years old, it's stood in my brain forever. And that scene in Space Jam, we all know it. So yeah, it drawing like weight gain sequences is really fun. The reason I have the most fun drawing the weight gain sequences is how I draw them reacting to it. That's the most fun part for me. Like I like to draw them like shocked or in disbelief or just chilling about it, like they don't care. That's the most fun part. It's always depending on who I'm drawing actually. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, a very common trope, though, in weight gain fantasy is the person who gets caught off guard and suddenly fattens up without any ability to control it. And then, like, there's the whole embarrassment aspect because, like, buttons are popping and seams are splitting, and they're always like, oh no, and that's part of, that feeds into the humiliation kink because there are a lot of members of the community who would love to experience that. And it's to one person, it would look horrifying, but to them, it's like the ultimate thrill.
Yeah, I do like a little bit of humiliation in all my pieces. So yeah.
I love hearing about all this, and I think this is something that is interesting to explore with artistry, what inspires and what informs. Now, when we were catching up before, you described, because I think the presumption would be that you are gay, but you've described yourself as being both bisexual and asexual. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When
Correct.
you think about these intersections, the way that you identify your sexuality, again, growing up in Argentina, Tim and I aren't necessarily familiar with the lived experience of growing up in South America, Latin America. And so, how do you feel like those experiences really shaped the stories and the fantasies that you enjoy so much? Would you say that it's somewhat in line with a queer idea of how an Argentinian man might perceive things, or is it a little different? Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Mm, I think being asexual cut me off a little bit from the gay community here in Argentina, but also that's part of my fault because I'm extremely shy, I'm extremely introverted, so I do not like talk to a lot of people in the community. But so far, all the people in the LGBTQ plus community that I met from that are in my country are thanks to my Twitter actually because they all just every time at least once a month there is a DM in my Twitters that said, "Oh, you're from Argentina." Well, in Spanish, "Oh, soy de Argentina, ¿cómo estás?" And it's really fun to to meet new people from here that like my work. That's the most important thing. They have to like my work because that's the that's the only thing that I post or talk about. So yeah, yeah, I made a lot of friends. Well, being asexual impact my artwork because if you take a good look at almost all my drawings, whether in Twitter or in Instagram, you might notice that I barely draw actual pornography or genitals. It's it's basically all teasing or body contrast or just clothes ripping, and that's fun for me that I see it as yes something sexual but that I like. I do not know how I don't know how to explain it, but I think to draw someone in tight clothes than fully naked. And the part about me being bisexual, at first it was a little bit like I want to hide it. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I like men too. maybe maybe I should try that. And that's when I started at 15. I started to draw men because funny enough, I do like women. Especially big women. I actually like big women, but I don't feel like drawing them. I don't know why. I like to draw men. So being bisexual didn't impact a lot of my artwork.
I suppose there's an interest there because we've had the opportunity to speak to some various bisexual people over the years, and something that often comes up is that their approach to size, community, and engagement is oftentimes very, very different between the genders.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, if it's a man who is bisexual, he may express that while he is attracted to both, sometimes it might be that he only appreciates gaining and feedism in other men, or that he's a bisexual man and appreciates men but only likes BBWs. So it's very interesting how the mind will work to decide, oh, this is what I find desirable and permissible. And I suppose that does carry across in your work. I can't recall having seen female characters depicted, and I think that's okay. Everyone has their niche. But again, it's interesting to learn this and to think, oh, how does that influence what we get to see on the page, you know? And there is such gloss, such color, such vibrancy in your work, you know, which I find so, so very delightful. But I would like to ask, because while, as we've explored, larger men and gaining ends up being a large portion of what you do, you have expressed there are other bodies that you will draw. And of course, that comes into things like that mix of erotic art with various queer communities. When you think about non-gainers, non-feedies, people who might commission you for work, people who might view your work, leave comments, and engage with what you create. What is that commentary? How do people outside of the gaining community tend to react to your artwork?
I am friends with a lot of bar artists that are not interested at all in that side of the king. You know, they just don't care. You know, they just know I draw Vara, and sometimes I draw muscles, or sometimes I draw the skinny people, and they share that, and they don't have a problem. And about the people that commission me, it's sometimes it's a little bit not sometimes. It's always flattering to me that they actually ask me to draw to commission me that kind of stuff, because they have so little references to know if I will do a good job or not with what they want. And that's really flattering to me, because it means that the little times that I draw muscles or skinny people or not fat men, I draw them nice. I draw them good, that they liked it.
And when you get those commission requests, like, is there any particular trend that you notice? Like, is there any like particular scenario that's like extremely popular or a character that people want to see most often?
It's funny. Most of the commissions for those of bodies are OCs. Like I would say like 40% those of those peoples then come back to me like a few months later and say, "Hey, remember you draw my OC? Can 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 you draw him fat?" It's really fun how, and they don't want me to draw them like big and fat like my normal drawings. They want, hey, can you add can you add like a little bit of pudge? I don't know if you say it like that. Yeah. Can you make like a little bit of belly or something? And I'm like, oh, I'm sure. And basically, I make a weight gain sequence without noticing, but yeah, it's OCs, or it's lately it's been Manato, Kumano Manato from CCC. I think I drew him in all the kind of soft bodies possible. So yeah.
And do you ever run into any challenges where you're both trying to give the client what they want, but also like make sure that it is unmistakably your work, like putting your personal stamp on it
Mm.
while also giving the you know the client I don't know why I struggle with that word what they are asking for in like the brief that they give you.
Yes, actually, there were a couple of commissioners that asked me. to draw very, very, very defined muscles, which is a whole new thing for me because the fun part of making the body like muscly but a little bit podgy is that I don't have to make all the lines when I draw muscles, you know? You don't have to define the six packs and every single muscle of the legs or the arms. But yeah, I did have some problems with those kinds of commissions. I I don't have a problem with the commissioners or with the artwork itself. It's a problem of me with me. You know with me and my abilities. Yeah, I had to send the sketch and they would come back with the sketch and say, hey, can you make it more defined? Can you do this and this? And sure. I don't want to say that I end up not liking the drawing, but I will say that it was really difficult and I did not enjoy myself.
Something I'm curious about, when it comes to the world of gamer art in general, it's like you do notice sometimes that there's a certain level of influence, like and trend that can come out of like the gamer art circle, like or sometimes you see the same character get used because one does it, then everyone else is like, oh well, yeah, I want to see what his version of this would be and whatnot. So like, do you ever feel any responsibility for like driving the trend within the community?
Well, I will say that I enjoy drawing bowling from The Legend of Korra and Hercules a lot. And I do have a lot of weight gain artists as friends, and they talk to me and they 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 say that my drawings of those two are like very popular. I see my friends drawing those same two characters in their styles, and yeah, I don't feel like I make trends because I always feel the opposite. I feel stuck in the same three characters, drawing just crazy scenarios that I feel like drawing.
There is something of a roster, isn't there, of like fetish IP characters that often get interpreted. What the fuck did I just say?
In
Interpreted.
interpreted.
For some reason, I got extrapolated and interpreted, mushed together in my head.
Extrapolated and then
Yes,
interpreted.
but like Mr. Incredible, there's tons
Yeah.
of people that have used him. Any of the Marvel characters,
Oh my God.
plenty of characters from Avatar.
Bolin, Avatar: The Last Airbender is such a huge character. A huge and also a prominent character that gets utilized. And I also feel like sometimes characters I see from Final Fantasy, like they're meant to be very powerful and then they're blown up big. I see people from Pokemon franchise, Chairman Rose, I see Raihan, I see all sorts of characters that get blown up. And
I've
they're
even seen Team Rocket. I've seen weight gain sequences involving Team Rocket and Meowth.
mm,
I think when I have to choose a character that I like and that I will be obsessed with, I think I have a trend to pick the characters that have soft shapes. Like bowling has like a big nose, a little bit rounded face. The same with Hercules. He doesn't have like chubby stuff, but the lines are very like rounded around too. Yeah, the same with the chairman from Pokemon. It's just a thing of me. And then I always pick the characters with like a sharp jawline or sharp edges around their designs, and I make them the fillers.
Now, since we are talking art, I feel like we can't have this conversation without bringing up truly the most iconic artist in Gainer history, Warren Davis. So I'd like to ask you here, DK, what do you think of Warren's art? And I would argue, and so that's one question. I want to know what you think of his art, but also because I was thinking about this earlier, his art style is so very distinctive. And me as a non-artist, I wouldn't say that there is much in common with his art style and your art style based on my knowledge, my eye. But you might actually feel that there is actually quite a bit in common with references and shapes and such. So I'd like to ask you two questions there. One, of course, what do you think of Warren's art? But two, has his style influenced your own, and what are those influences?
Yes and no. I think style-wise, nothing. There's nothing about the drawings in Warren Davis in my art about styling-wise. However, thing the things that he went through, he went in his drawings. They inspired me a lot because almost old. No, I don't want to say almost old, but yeah, like 50% of the drawings that I've seen of him are all body contrast, and I really like to draw that the body contrast thing, and also yeah, the weight gain sequences. The fat burger one is my favorite,
I
but
think that's hands down everybody's favorite, to be honest. When we were gathering people for the Warren Davis
Oh
project,
my
the
God,
amount of people who
yes.
wanted to speak specifically on Fatburger, and I guess that was the one that just had the most legs because I feel like that was the first one I found was
Yeah,
Fatburger.
I think we ran
I
the
also think
numbers.
that I also think that's the only sequence that you can find complete on online, because the other sequences are like a little bit lost. There's one in the gym with three guys and one getting father.
Yeah, there's a few like sort of standalone images that we're not really sure if they're part of like an overall collection that meant to have a
Yeah,
Mm.
story or not, so it's a little hard to tell. But yeah, and I think that he d devoted the most amount of panels to that story.
yeah. So yeah, basically the burger one is my favorite, and especially there's a panel where the fat dude is like laying on the floor
Hmm.
against ice cream machine, I think.
Yep, and the
Oh,
guy
and they're
straddling his
being
belly and his
fed and
yeah.
everything.
And the filler is on top of the belly, and he's feeding.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That one, I have it saved in my computer, and
Yeah,
I look at it every time I want inspiration
you know,
from a dumb feeder, a sub top, or
mhm.
no, a dumb feeder, a sub feedy, and the body contrast,
You
Hmm.
all
know,
in one.
we
It's all
talked
in one.
about this during the episode. First of all, I think we ran the numbers, and it was like when we put out some kind of a unofficial survey of like, well, what was your favorite Warren Davis story? And we'll try and pair people up with the right story. I think like 50% of people straight up just said Fatburger. So from jump, we knew, okay, this is the one that people are really going to be
Hmm.
excited for.
Hmm.
But even when we were reviewing the episode, because during the series, and of course, I'll encourage everyone here, go to our YouTube. The episodes are up there, all of them. Go and watch them, go and enjoy them, because we include all of the artwork available online. We put it over the story. It's fabulous. We were talking about this at the time. That specific panel you reference in my brain, like Fatburger wasn't a story that did it for me. But that image has to be one of the top three Warren Davis images of all time. Like, I think
Yeah,
no one's going to challenge
I,
that.
It lives
yeah.
rent free in the heads of many, many, many people.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember when I discovered Warren Davis from, ironically, a documentary about obesity.
Mm.
uh, there was this documentary about obesity, and in the middle of it, they started to show the sequences of Fat Burger while they were talking about the danger things about that, and I was like, my ears stopped working, and I just could see the only thing I was doing is watching those images, and I look for the artist and discover all that niche, all that ink.
So I'm just going to say this here as a nice little button. If anyone is looking to read Fatburger or indeed any of the other Warren Davis stories, I'm going to recommend that people check out the WordPress that was put together, which is warrendavisstories.wordpress.com, which has the complete, as far as we've been able to source online, list of stories and images. So please go ahead and check that out. But as we talk around about artwork, of course, and coming back to your artwork itself, I think there's a question there about Because gaining and feedist artwork can be so niche, I think there's oftentimes a conversation about limitations, right? And this comes up in, when people make content about, with a Patreon or an OnlyFans, and they're jiggling their belly and they're eating food. Oftentimes they'll end up posting online saying, well, what do people want to see? Because sometimes people can feel that the specific actions that people want to see can be very, very limited. And I imagine it could potentially be the same thing for the artwork. How many positions, how many body types, how many combinations of bits and pieces can you do before potentially things feel a little stale, before you need new inspiration, and potentially that impeding on your ability to sustain what you're doing? I'd like to ask you about that. Is that something that you experience in terms of limited opportunities, or as a limitation to the work that you create?
Well, yes, I did feel like my artwork was getting stale a lot of times, actually, especially when I feeling like following a trend. No, not a trend, but a pattern. Like there was a time where my Instagram and my Twitter was full of drawings of characters that I like, taking a selfie with like a Snapchat caption and all that stuff. At first, it was really fun, but when I was drawing that, I think the 30th drawing, I was like, okay, this is starting to look similar. So I drop it, and then then follows the hardest part, that is just coming out with ideas. That there are times when I don't post for like, I don't know, 2 weeks or almost a month. It's not because I got bored or I am busy. It's because I am in front of my tablet trying to come up with something new, you know. Sometimes I just draw what I know, or I just draw something that I did like years ago, and I think, people will not remember, and they do remember. They always comment, oh, this is like the drawing that you did of this character, and I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. Now, for example, I am doing a lot of summer theme drawings, and it's been really fun because I there are a lot of things that you can do at the beach, and now add someone that is big and fat doing those things, it becomes really fun to draw. It's a breath of fresh air, but I'm afraid it's going to get stale again, and I will have to come up with new things sooner or later.
Well, I'm sure that's something everyone experiences, right? Like, Tim, you've talked about this with the desire to pursue photography to some extent. When you were doing special effects makeup, I
Mhm.
write a little bit in the background in my spare time. And you are right. Like, there are times where it does not matter necessarily how hard you try, little tips and tricks to feel invigorated. Sometimes it's unavoidable that you can sit there and feel, I'm feeling like I'm in a rut. I feel like I can't really move past this. And I imagine there's a little bit of siloing. You're there, you're doing your artwork, everyone's doing theirs. You're probably not, trading tips and tricks, maybe. You're not necessarily copying off one another. So people probably are just a little bit in their own lane, and maybe a bit of community would actually be very helpful with that. So reach out to us at thickradio@gmail.com, or if you have a message of love, support, and advice that you'd like to share with our friend DK, reach out to him on his socials, which of course we will be including at the end of this week's episode.
So as a way to kind of begin to close out the conversation here, you've been operating as an artist for a while, and you've built this big presence across many different platforms. Like, you've got your own Patreon, you've got KoFi, RedBubble, you do commissions. What kind of advice would you give for someone who wants to become or who wants to make a living as an independent niche artist, which is not easy to do? So, what advice would you give them?
My first advice would be to make as little social media accounts as possible, because it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work, but it is. Updating social medias, it's a lot of work. Yeah, maybe the safest social media that I would say, if you want to start as a not safe for work artist, is Twitter. Sadly, is Twitter. The second one, also sadly, is Instagram, but you have to be careful with what you post. That's the only difference. I would say Patreon. Well, you can always there are social medias or accounts that you can just create, and that's it. Like for example, KoFi. You can just create a KoFi. You can link it to your PayPal and just leave it. Just put on your post, hey, I have a KoFi, and just let it go. Just if you see money dropping from your KoFi, okay, that's all you need to do. But yeah, I would say make a Twitter, make an Instagram, and well, then there are the other platforms that for merch and stuff like RedBubble and all this. I don't know any others, so, or Yorunoeki. Yeah, I would say don't make those accounts before you have something that you actually want to make merch of, because making those accounts first and making the artwork after would make you stress a lot about what you're working currently, because you will always think that, oh, is this good for merch, or am I drawing for to post on social media? It takes a lot of mental energy, I would say. I made that mistake. I created a RedBubble, and I didn't have anything to put on the page, so I lost a whole week drawing absolutely nothing, because all I was thinking was how can I make something that is related to my work, but that can also be sold for merch. Don't do that. And my last advice, which I, I don't think I am the best person to ask for advice about this, but it's all about experience. Do a Patreon only if only whenever you are sure that people want to pay for your stuff. Why? Because making a Patreon, it's a little bit more complicated than making an Instagram, Twitter, KoFi, and RedBubble together. Because there are a lot of stuff that you have to have ready if you want to open a Patreon. You have to have ready what you want to offer, all the tiers you want to offer. You have to have a banner and a distinguishable icon. You have to have people that want to at least throw $3 a month for your work. It's it's not easy to make a Patreon, but the easy part is, believe it or not, is to get a following, especially in this kink. Why? Because there are not a lot of artists drawing this kink. Like I can count them. I follow almost all the artists that do this kind of fetish or king or scenarios that I draw. And yeah, and they all have like 1,000 followers or more, and they have the Patreon and they are doing good. So just make a following, make a follow. No, make a Twitter, make an Instagram, or just make a Twitter, and that's it. Make a KoFi if you just make it and then drop the link in your Twitter. And the last thing you have to do is make a Patreon if you want that headache, that extra headache. It is important that first of all you actually like what you put on your social medias, because if you only do it for to make money, I know making money is important, but there is a part of being an artist that has to that it's about whether you enjoy it or not, because being an artist is a lot of mental work every day. It's coming out with ideas, it's drawing them, it's actually like what you come up with. And if you don't like what you're drawing, and you still make everything, you make a Twitter, an Instagram, a Patreon, a coffee, everything, and you still don't see like a growth, maybe it's because you're focusing a lot on that, on the growth, and instead of how you feel, or how you, or what you achieve as an artist.
DK, I just want to say a massive thank you, both for sharing everything with us. I believe this is your first proper interview, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you for being vulnerable with us, for sharing with us. This has been an absolute delight. Now, for anyone who is unsure of where to find you, where can the listeners find you online?
I'm dkmate1 in Twitter and in Instagram, and in Patreon I'm just dkmate.
Fantastic. And any other socials, we will make sure to put them in the show notes. But that is a wrap for now here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. If you like this episode, share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccymouse and Grommr at orpheus.
You can also find us on social media at Thicc Radio, or visit our website at thiccradio.com.
Consider supporting the show by donating to our PayPal or by subscribing to our Patreon, where you can enjoy extra helpings, a behind-the-scenes conversation with this week's guest where nothing is off the table.
And if you send us a letter to thethiccradio@gmail.com, we might just read it on the show. That's all for now, so until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Oh, bye.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is an independent production.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinze.
With original theme music by CYMK.